Good morning.
Morning, Judge. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm well. I hadn't been on Zoom in a while. I couldn't figure out how to get my stuff going.
Are you looking for Will or Mickey? Who are we looking for?
I believe I am looking
Mickey.
for Mickey.
Okay. And I'm going to record this first one. Miss Taylor is a bit delayed. She has stopped to render aid to an animal this morning and
Aw.
that had been hit. And so she's had taken it to her vet. So she's running a little behind. But anyway, so
Well, we will forgive her.
yeah, I think we can all excuse her. So
See, if I stop and render aid to an animal, it usually ends up living at my house for the rest of my life.
Yes.
My husband's always like, don't you dare pull over. Don't you dare. And I'm like, but I need a puppy.
oh,
I feel like we just saw each other just yesterday. Oh, wait, we did.
We did.
Well, I'm jealous.
Don't be. We just try to have pre-meetings on meetings so that way we can make sure everything goes. We're becoming those people that are like, hey, let's have a meeting before the meeting.
all right. Then I will go ahead and call cause number 9 here on a review hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and as stated earlier, I'm recording this hearing. Our court reporter has been delayed for good reason. And anyway, if anybody needs a copy, let me know and we'll make it available. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the Department of Family and Protective Services. The St. Francis Permanency Specialist today is Mickey Lane.
Claire Grammer on behalf of the parents, Matthew and Amy Welch.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Thomas. And I do anticipate that we will be talking a lot about things going on with Thomas. I would ask that we go off of YouTube to preserve his privacy.
I have no objection.
I don't either.
All right, then I will go ahead and stop the live stream, close the courtroom, and I will reopen that at the appropriate time to protect the child's confidentiality and privacy.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Judge, on this case, this is the
Turner Ben?
Turner Ben case. On this case, I have Mr. Hill and Ms. Naranjo's signatures. They both had something else come up and asked that I just announce for them that they are in agreement and we have signatures on it. Mr. Turner, the alleged dad to Riley and Leanne, we kind of expect him to be here. I know Ms. Larson sent him the link a couple of times and has been in communication with him. Think he wants possibly to talk to an attorney, but may want to talk to us beforehand. So we were waiting to see what he does if he shows up.
Okay, don't have him yet. So do you want to put some testimony on?
Yes, ma'am. We can just do some testimony as far as Mr. Turner.
Okay. We're here today set for an adversary hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present and ready. And Your Honor, as I announced before we went on the record, Ms. Kendra Naranjo is the attorney for mother Candace Foster Ben. I received a signature and agreement with the temporary managing conservatorship to the department and to work services. Also, the respondent alleged father, Nicholas Ben, the alleged father to Davina, Mr. Jeff Hill represents her, and I also received a signature and agreement from them. We would need to take testimony as to alleged father Richard Turner today.
All right, what's the status of service on Mr. Turner?
He lives in California, Your Honor. We do not have service on him yet.
All right, but you prepared to put some testimony on about his knowledge about the case today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, then. Who's your
Stacy
first?
Zavala on behalf of the children.
Okay, and Ms. Naranjo and Mr. Hill obviously are not present since they both agreed and have signed off on an order, so their attendance obviously is not required today.
Yes, ma'am.
Right
And I do have emails from them asking me to just announce for them that they are in agreement.
Okay, very good. All right, then, who's your first witness?
Katie Larson, Your Honor.
Okay,
How
Ms.
are you
Larson.
familiar with that case?
I am the investigator that responded to the report.
And you heard me announce that mother and the alleged father, Mr. Ben, are in agreement with today, correct?
Mhm. Yes,
So we'll need to take some testimony as to alleged father Richard Ben, or Richard Turner, sorry.
yes,
Have you had contact with Mr. Turner?
I have.
How many times have you had contact with him?
I mailed him first on May 9th a letter letting him know that the department was involved and asking for him to call back. And then he did call me on May 19th. And then I also spoke with him yesterday.
Okay. Did you discuss why the department was involved?
Yes,
Did he understand what you
he
were?
did.
Okay. As to technically being the non-offending parent in this situation, is he in a position, did he state whether he's in a position to take his child or children?
No, he doesn't have any housing right now in California. He's kind of just bouncing wherever he can stay.
Okay. You said you had mailed him the letters and stuff. Does he have a PO box or did you mail it to a specific address?
I mailed it to an apartment and he told me that was a family member's apartment where we could mail him things, but he doesn't actually live there. So they just get in contact with him when he gets mail.
Okay. Did you send him the link today?
I did.
Okay. Did y'all discuss the time zones and time differences and what time he needed to try to log on to be here for this hearing?
Yes.
Did you discuss with him whether he would be in agreement with the department taking temporary managing conservatorship or what his stance would be?
I did. We talked about that because specifically because he hasn't seen the children in 5 years, and Leanne doesn't even know that she has a different dad. And we talked about that and that he would probably need to, get to know them a little bit better before something like them coming with him could happen. And so we kind of just discussed like what agreed orders meant and what that would look like for him, and he understood that.
Okay. Did he state that he may want to ask for an attorney or speak to somebody before agreeing to that?
He didn't say he would want to talk to an attorney. He said he might want to talk to you about what an agreed order meant, just to make sure he understood what I was saying, but that was it.
Okay. But kind of per your conversations lately, did you expect him to appear today?
Yes.
I believe when you and I spoke, you mentioned that there may be, that he said there were, he was under some orders out of California. Is that correct?
He said he was under, they did have like a custody order in California and he was paying child support.
Okay. Has he gotten you a copy of that? Have you seen a copy of that, or has mother gotten you a copy of it?
I have asked for it, but I haven't gotten it.
Okay. So from what they're telling you, he is or possibly has been adjudicated before of at least one of the children.
Yes.
Okay. Did he tell you who they were under orders? He was under orders for and paying child support on?
It was my understanding it was both Leanne and Riley.
Okay. All right. But we have no verification of that this time.
Right.
So this time he's just pled in as an alleged father from what we know.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have a conversation with the mother about Mr. Turner?
Yes.
And what did she say about Mr. Turner?
She said that he was a drug addict and very violent, that he had shown up to their house in California and was trying to like break into the house, and they had ended up having to trespass him and get a protective order on him. And that was part of the reason why they moved to Texas, like to get away from all of that.
Okay. Was mom able to provide you with a copy of that protective order?
No,
Okay. So we're not sure, do you know when that happened?
I don't know. And I did ask law enforcement to check for one, and they didn't see one.
Okay. So we're not sure if there's still a standing protective order between mom and dad.
Right.
Okay. Or Mr. Turner and Mr. Foster. Okay. Are you asking the department or asking the court to grant the department temporary managing conservatorship of the children?
Yes.
And are you asking for the parents to work services?
Yes.
And really no child support or medical support at this time?
Right. Yes.
And do you believe that's in the best interest of the children?
Yes.
How are the children doing at this time?
They seem to be thriving. I know Leanne specifically really likes being girly, for instance, and she wasn't really able to do that with her parents. And her dad had kind of cut chunks out of her hair. So they have been braiding her hair and making her feel pretty, and she really likes that. And they seem to be doing really well at placement.
Are they all placed together?
They're all placed at High Plains. So the girls are in one cottage and Riley's in the cottage right next to them. So they get to see each other quite frequent.
Okay, so they do get some sibling visits and still get contact.
Yes. Yeah.
And everything at this point has been going well with them.
Yes.
And you do believe the request today is in the best interest of the children?
Yes.
As to visitations, are we asking anything? How are visitations working right now?
We are only allowing Mr. Ben to visit with his biological child at this time, due to the physical abuse allegations. And then they're seeing their mom. And the dad has asked for visitation. However, we felt like that might be better in like a therapeutic setting, because I don't know if they even know who he is at this point.
Okay, all right. It's been a while since if they have seen him, it's been a while since they have.
He said at least 5 years.
Okay, all right. But if he gets back in contact, some sort of therapeutic visits is what we'd be asking for.
Yes.
Start out.
And you're talking about Mr. Ben or Mr. Turner?
Mr. Turner.
Mr. Turner. Okay, I just want to make sure. I
Yeah.
thought for a second we were talking about Mr. Ben and then, okay.
Well, so Your Honor, what we're asking, due to the allegations from the affidavit in the investigation, we're asking that Mr. Ben's visitations be only with his child.
Understand.
And then mom have visitations with all of them. If Mr. Turner does appear and ask for the visitations and wants those, try to set those up in a therapeutic session first.
Right. Okay.
And Ms. Larson, I know I asked this many times, but once again, you believe all these requests would be in the best interest of all the children.
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Zavala, you have any questions?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Anything further of this witness?
Nothing further of this witness, Your Honor. On this order, though, we're not asking for any child support from anybody at this time. If we find out later of Mr. Turner's does have a standing child support order out of California, we may ask for that to be redirected. But at this point, no child support or medical support.
Yeah, I suppose it's even possible that if there was a protective order proceeding, that maybe some temporary support had gotten ordered under that. And, if it's expired, that may be gone.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
may not have been a full-blown SAPSR even, and
Yeah.
they do things a little differently.
Yes, ma'am.
So, we'll just have to, to see what you find.
Yes,
So,
ma'am. And I think they told us kind of,
if we do find a SAPSR, obviously, then I'm gonna need to make a contact with a California judge.
yes, ma'am. My understanding is out of, San Bernardino, maybe. So if parents aren't able to get us copies, we'll try to get one of my investigators to reach out and see if we can find out something on that.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. All right, then, does the department rest?
Department rest, Johnny.
Okay, Ms. Zavala, any witnesses to present today?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, you have a recommendation.
Yes, Your Honor. I do believe it's in all of the children's best interest to remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. I was scheduled to meet with them in person last night, but there's a little bit of sickness going around the cottages. There's also a little bit of sicknesses going around with me. So we are rescheduled for this weekend. But placement does report them all doing well. And I can say that girls' cottage has a great collection of princess dress-up dresses. So she should be in good hands. But I will be seeing the kids in person this weekend.
Okay, very good. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Didn't know you were under the weather. All right, then, I will find the evidence is sufficient to name the department as temporary managing conservator of all of the children. I'd find a continuing danger to return the children home at this time. I'm going to order the department to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. I'm not going to order any child support or medical support at this time. And with respect to visitation, Mr. Ben will have visitation with Davina only, obviously supervised. And Ms. Foster Ben will be able to have her supervised visits with all of the children. We'll await Mr. Turner's request or involvement to order any kind of visitation with him. Obviously, he's in California at this time. It would have to be virtual. But there's no point in setting any of that up until he makes further contact with us. I've kept an eye on my waiting room throughout the hearing, and he has not appeared in the waiting room.
Thank you.
So I'll sign the order when that's presented, and then we will have our status hearing on July 8th of 2025, and that'll be on a 9 o'clock docket.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, appreciate y'all.
Also, I have signatures from Ms. Naranjo and Mr. Hill on this one. We have one dad who doesn't have an attorney, though.
Okay, so you're obviously not expecting your client.
I am not.
Y'all agreed? Okay. We're here today on a status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Galvan's making our record today. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Courtney Brown's a permanency specialist. We are present and ready.
Ken Naranjo for the mother, Candace Foster Bin. I am present and ready. She is not present, but she has agreed to this order today.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the children.
And Judge, just on the record, I do have a signature from Mr. Hill as to alleged father Nicholas Ben in agreement.
All right, so basically we've got Mr. Turner, who is not represented. So since Ms. Naranjo is present, Ms. Naranjo, did you discuss with your client the consequences of not working her services?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Okay, then I guess we'll go ahead and get an update from Ms. Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I am the new worker taking over this case. I took over after the status report was filed. I've met with both parents and the children since taking over. Parents have started and or scheduled all of their services. They've submitted a drug screen in June that both came back negative. I've met with all the children and they seem to be doing well in placement. I've monitored a visit between both parents and the children, and they were all appropriate and went well.
Okay, when you refer to both parents, you're talking about mom and Mr. Ben.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Have you had any contact with Mr. Turner?
I have not. I've attempted to phone call to call him on the phone twice now with no luck.
And Your Honor, if I remember correctly, investigations prior to the adversary had a phone call or two with him. I believe he stated he was homeless. He lives in California. We have not been able to get a good address to get him served yet. We'll keep trying, or we will have to publish on him. I think he mentioned that there are some prior orders out of San Bernardino, California, in regards to some of the kids in his fraternity. We have not seen those and haven't been able to get copies of them yet. But that is, I think, where we stand with him. If he is, I know before the adversary, the link was sent to him, but he had kind of, I think, fallen out of contact by that point.
Okay.
I would ask Ms. Naranjo if your client happens to have copies of the prior orders out of California, if we could get a copy of them, or if she can get a copy for us, just so we know what the paternity issues and if there was child support from him out of California.
I can ask if she has those to her.
All right, I appreciate it.
Okay. Then Ms. Brown, how about the children? How are they doing?
They're doing well. Placement reports that they haven't had any real issues with the children since being placed where they are. When I met with them, they were, happy, rambunctious, not standoffish at all. So they're very sweet kids and doing well.
Okay. Are they placed with any relative, or are they in a foster home?
They are placed at a children's home.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Good. All right, Ms. Naranjo, anything else to add today?
Yeah, I did confirm with my client that she has initiated all her services and she'll actually start counseling this Friday.
All right, great. Good to hear. All right, and since Mr. Hill nor his client are present, but have agreed, I can't ask him if there's anything else.
And Your Honor, I'll say Mr. Ben and Mom signed their service plans on June 11th. All 3 service plans were filed on June 12th with the court.
Okay, great. All right, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, I've met with all 3 kids again in person. They really are doing well. I don't know if there was something mentioned in the report about a hiccup for one of the children doing really well now. So no concerns there. It's my understanding, I believe, that Mr. Ben is only visiting with his daughter and not the other 2. I would like to have some discussions with Ms. Brown about visits going forward. Riley seems interested in having visits with him, but before anything changes, I really would like us to kind of all get together and talk about that. But things seem to be going really well.
Okay. All right, I will let you all put your heads together on that issue and see what seems to be best for the kids. I assume they've all been assigned and started in some kind of counseling.
I believe so. I don't know how far in they are. but I believe they are scheduled with a counselor. I just don't know how many sessions they've had.
Sure, okay. All right then, I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I will continue the children's current placement. I find there would be a continuing danger to return the children home at this time. But it sounds like we're off to a good start, at least with Mom and with Mr. Ben. I'm going to order the service plans as an order of the court. I didn't hear any request for any court-ordered drug screens at this time. They're cooperating, so no need for that. And our initial permanency hearing will be on November 4th of 2025. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, appreciate it, everybody. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Your Honor, just to clarify, I do have the names of both therapists. I thought I did, but I wasn't quite sure, so I went back to my notes.
Okay.
So we're good.
All right. Very good. Okay. Thank you all so much. Here for an initial permanency hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming and we're recording to the Zoom cloud. If anybody needs a copy, let me know and we'll make it available. All right. We'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the department. Courtney Brown is the permanency specialist. We're present ready, Your Honor.
Kenner on behalf of the mother, Candace Foster Ben. She's present and I'm ready, Your Honor.
Yeah, Phil, on behalf of Nicholas Ben, he's present as well. He and the mother are both on the same video feed. We're ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the children.
Donna Rowland with CASA.
Okay. Thank you all very much. And Mr. Turner is not present. And he does not have an attorney at this time, and I believe he's still not been located. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, Your Honor. I don't believe Ms. Brown has had any contact with him. I know during the initial investigation in this case, just looking back at the investigative report, back in May, he had called the investigator when she sent him a letter, but I think that was the last contact ever made with him, Your Honor. He is in California, I believe.
At least that's where we think he is.
Yes, ma'am. That's where he was when this initial contact happened, but I don't think we know since then.
Right. Okay. All right. Everybody, my sincere apologies for the huge delay today. We've had to jump around some on the docket. We didn't have people we needed. I am very sorry. We're doing our best, but I really appreciate your patience and I apologize for keeping you guys waiting so long. Okay. Let's see, Ms. Brown, if you'll raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear you'll tell the truth today?
I do.
Okay. All right. If you want to go ahead and give us an update, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, Judge. Children are still placed at the High Plains Children's Home. All three are doing well. We've had a few issues with Riley at school with grades and things like that. He was failing math. When I spoke to him last week, he told me he was getting his grades up and doing better. The girls are doing well. A few little behavioral things, nothing too extreme at placement, and both are doing well at school. They have been appointed a CASA worker since the last hearing. Parents have completed all of the services in their initial family plans since the status hearing. It was recommended that they start blended family counseling. So Nicholas and Candace have started that. And it's also going to be recommended that we start with some family therapy. Initially, it's going to start with Candace and Leanne. We're currently trying to find a therapist that can work with everyone's schedule. So I am working on that. We're going to get that started as soon as possible.
In Your Honor, going off of that, just from what I looked at yesterday, I know there are is a case filed against Mr. Ben on this case, in regards to this case. From what I see, there is a no contact order in there. So parents have completed their services, but we're going to be stalled because we can't, I have not seen any type of addendum or anything done to this that lets him have contact per CPS case. So right now he's got no contact order with anyone under 17.
Okay, and that was a question I had because the CASA report, I think, indicated that he was having visits. So I was wondering what the deal
Ms.
was.
Brown?
No, he is not having any visits at this time. Candace does have a weekly visit with all 3 children for 4 hours. That was increased from 1 hour to 2 hours, and that's happening every week. But right now, Nicholas has not had any contact with the children. He is working on trying to get that addendum, though, so that he can at least have visits with Davina.
Okay.
Judge, I was going to wait for my turn, but it
Yeah.
seems like an appropriate place to just
Sure.
speak up. Mr. Ben tells me that no contact provision was lifted. He hasn't provided me any documentation on that, but he tells me it was just very recently lifted. So perhaps Ms. Brown can look into that and see.
Yes, I can follow up with that for sure.
And I can check on it too, Your Honor. I like I said, I looked in Odyssey into the case yesterday. I just didn't see anything on that. If it has, it may not have been filed yet. But I did not see anything stating that had been changed or modified any kind of way. But we'll keep looking on that because, like I said, we are kind of stalled on where we can move forward since parents are together. And if that's still in place, it's going to hinder what we can do, or hinder a lot what we can do with Mr. Ben at this point, if that has not been lifted.
Mr. Ben, can you all unmute?
Okay.
Okay. So sometimes these things have a lag time getting into the actual system. Sometimes parents think they have been, but an order hasn't been signed yet. So tell me what you know.
No, I'm still working on that with my attorney. So what it said, what I was granted visitation with Leanne, supervised visitation with Leanne, and nothing was ever said about Riley or Davina. It was the only thing addressed was with Leanne, and per the bond order, I was granted supervised visits with her.
When did this happen? When did you have this hearing?
July.
Okay.
And we're working on getting anything else, any other restrictions changed.
Who represents you in that case?
Yarberry, Miss Yarberry.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
Maybe with the public defenders, Your Honor.
Could be.
Yeah, public defender, Miss Yarberry.
Yeah.
Okay, so somebody can reach out to the MAC maybe and find out what's going on.
And Judge, I can tell you what I'm looking at in Odyssey on the case. Let me pull this back up. There was a hearing in July. The bond was done July 9th, it looks like. Let me see. Okay. It says no unsupervised with her and no contact from 17. So that was written in a different spot in this bond. I'm just now seeing it. So we can probably start supervised contact with Leanne.
So
yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
All right.
No, that's fine. I don't see anything. It says no unsupervised contact with Lynn. It does not say anything about the 2 Ben children. It just says no contact with any child under 17.
All right, so for purposes of our case, we will track the language of that,
Okay.
which will say there will be no unsupervised contact with Leanne.
Can I ask a question? Daniel, there's two provisions in there. I think that you said one specifically states no contact under 17. And then there's another provision that gives supervised contact with Leanne only, correct?
Correct. It does not address the other two children.
Okay, so he then, per that bond, would still be prohibited from anybody else but Leanne, which is odd, but
Yeah.
apparently that's what the language is saying.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of got us, Your Honor, because his children are the ones he can't have contact with, and the alleged victim in this criminal case is the one he can have supervised with. So it's kind of odd the way they did this one. But it specifically states no unsupervised contact with Leanne Turner, no offenses against the state of Texas, no contact with any child under 17, and abstain from drug use, unless directed by a physician. So those are the bond conditions right now.
Okay, so Mr. Ben, the reason I want to track that language where it says there will be no unsupervised contact with Leanne, but that doesn't necessarily mean there will be
Right.
supervised contact with Leanne.
And I want to.
Hang on a minute. I really want Ms. Trout, I want you to reach out to either the prosecutor in the case, whatever, and clarify that
Yes,
this
ma'am.
wasn't, that it shouldn't have been Davina's name in there versus Leanne.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree. It's all that's all, it's kind of strange.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to make sure that they just didn't get the wrong child's name in that order.
Okay.
So we're not going to do that. My point being, Mr. Ben, just because it says that you can have no unsupervised contact with Leanne, I'm not ordering any visits yet with Leanne until we get this straightened out. Because it's very odd. So we need to talk to the prosecutor and or your criminal attorney and find out before we move forward on anything, Ms. Brown. If we can get it resolved and everybody's satisfied, then that's fine. Y'all don't have to come back to me. But I want to be very clear and very careful about that before we start something.
Yes, Judge.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay. Ms. Brown, anything else today?
No, ma'am.
All right, then, Ms. Naranjo?
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Brown, were there several outcries made by Leanne since she's been in care?
Yes, there have been a few.
And what are the outcomes of those investigations on those outcries?
I believe a few have been admin closed and a few have been ruled out.
And what does it mean by admin closed?
The latest one, because the children were removed for physical abuse, they didn't investigate it because the children were already removed for the allegation that was in the intake.
Now, one of the outcries made by Leanne was that someone at placement had exposed themselves to her. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that investigation ruled out?
It was.
And why was it ruled out?
From what I gathered, the story kind of changed from the time it was reported to the time it was investigated. And then Leanne admitted that she had been told by somebody else at the placement to tell the story.
And was there also an outcry made by Leanne that the mother had been burned by her father?
That wasn't no, that wasn't an intake. It was a concern that they had voiced to placement. And I'm not sure if it was because they had seen the burns and made assumptions that it was violence towards mother. But that wasn't one of the intakes that came in.
So no investigation has been done on that?
No, ma'am.
Now, you testified that all the parents have completed all their services. Is that correct?
Yes.
and the purposes of completing services is to mitigate the reasons for the removal. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, would the department in St. Francis be opposed if Mr. Ben is no longer at the residence and we begin a reunification plan with mother?
We're not opposed to that, and I believe we have briefly discussed it, but we'd have to get the logistics worked out about where Nicholas would be going.
Would the Department of St. Francis be opposed to increasing mother's visitation to about 3 to 4 hours a week, considering that she has completed all her services?
No, ma'am, we wouldn't be against that.
Would it be possible to move the visitation to Saturday to accommodate mother's work schedule better?
I would have to get in touch with placement, but we could try to figure that out for sure.
And would the department be imposed to have for mother having unsupervised visitation in the event that we cannot begin a reunification plan as of yet?
I would have to staff it with my PD before I could say yes or no on that, but I would be willing to staff it.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Hill.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Ms. Brown, back to the allegations that have been made by Leanne. She has, by my understanding, also made, one of the allegations was some kind of sexual abuse by Nicholas. Is that correct?
The intake alleged that she was forced to watch pornography.
Okay. And is that one of the allegations that was ruled out?
Yes.
Okay. Did she make some kind of an allegation about Nicholas making her wear a shot collar?
Yes.
Was that ruled out?
That was the physical abuse one that was admin closed.
Okay. And the difference between admin closed and rule out is admin closed it doesn't matter at this point because she's already removed. Is that correct?
Essentially, it means that an investigator is not going to go out and further interview the child.
Okay, because there's no point since she's no longer in the residence, right?
Essentially, yes.
Okay. And you said the burn allegation was not made by Leanne, but someone else at placement?
Leanne had voiced concern for her mother to placement because they were worried about their mother's safety with Nicholas in the home. The burns might be related to why they were concerned because there was a physical, representation of something happening on their mother's body. I don't know if they connected those two things or not, but that was not an intake that came in, but a concern that was voiced to me by placement.
Okay. So we've established that she alleged that her father made her watch pornography, or Nicholas made her watch pornography. That was ruled out. That some staff member exposed themselves to her at placement. That was ruled out, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That the dog collar was administratively closed. The burn, you've addressed that. So were there other allegations or just these four?
Those are the only ones that have come in so far.
Okay. So in your permanency report, unless I missed it, but I read it a couple times, I didn't see anything in your permanency report that listed these allegations and the fact that they were ruled out or closed. Is it in there and I missed it?
It should have been in the boxes that had the DFPS allegations. It doesn't go into specifics about what the intake said, but it had physical abuse, neglectful supervision, things like that, and then the outcome of it. The only one that would not be in there is the admin closed one because that had happened after I submitted the report.
Okay. Do you have that report with you or in front of you, or do you have access to it?
Yes.
Just for my benefit, so perhaps I can read one of these more accurately, could you point me to where you're talking about?
It's under the history of families' involvement with child welfare, and it's section B.
If you could give me the page number at the bottom left, that'd probably be the most helpful for me.
It's page 4.
Page 4, okay. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's section B, the history of involvement with DFPS and other child welfare agencies.
Okay, so there's just no specifics given. Okay, I was looking for specifics so I could connect
sir.
the dots more clearly, but these are just, I guess, generic, but it's okay. I see what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
So what, if any, let me rephrase that. This child obviously has a history of lying. Would you agree with that?
She has a history of making up stories. Yes,
That would be lying, right? If you make something up that's not true, that's a lie. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay, so she does have a history of lying.
Yes.
Okay. Does that factor into this anywhere with regard to the allegations that she's made against Mr. Bin?
Yes, and that's the thing that we're trying to figure out what the cause of that is with family therapy.
Okay, so St. Francis does acknowledge the child is lying or has a history of lying. And the goal at this point, if I'm understanding, if I'm reading between the lines or interpreting what you're saying correctly, the goal at this point through therapy / counseling / whatever is to figure out what's going on with the child and what else she may be telling the truth or lying about.
It's also to mitigate the concerns for the removal. Yes.
Okay, well, the concerns for the removal are her allegations, right?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The concerns that caused the removal are based on her allegations.
Yes, but we still have to take those allegations seriously.
No, I understand. But I assume you're taking them now with a grain of salt since the child is now known to be a liar.
We'll investigate every allegation that happens or comes in afterwards, but our goal is to hopefully figure out if they are lies or stories, why she's making them up.
Very good. I think everyone would like to know that. Okay. So if the criminal bond conditions are such that Mr. Bin can have contact with Leanne, which again is, as we talked earlier, it would be odd that the court would allow contact with Leanne, but not the others or Davina. Is it St. Francis's position that there should still be no contact, there should be therapeutic contact, or what would St. Francis's position be at this point?
If the bond restrictions are reworded and he's allowed to have supervised contact, I believe therapeutic would be our first step.
Okay. And what about contact with the other two children, if that's allowed? What would that look like?
Those would be supervised.
Okay. So St. Francis, assuming the bond conditions can get straightened out because they are very odd, St. Francis would be in favor of supervised visitation with all the children.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and also in your permanency report, in the summaries at the bottom, that basically it sounds pretty negative that the concerns have not been alleviated, etc. Mr. Bin has worked all his services. He is doing what he's supposed to do. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so the way I interpret your paragraph summary at the bottom is it's things are still bad and not going well and there should be no contact. So that's not exactly right. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's working towards the goal.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Hill, anything else to report today?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala?
No questions, just a report if you're ready for that.
Okay.
Your Honor, I've met repeatedly with all three kids. I very much believe that any contact with Leanne and Mr. Ben needs to start therapeutically. When that becomes available, she's got a therapist that she's working with regularly. I have real concerns in terms of just jumping straight into regular visitation. I actually would prefer them all to be therapeutic, but that may not be practical. So at least with Leanne, I would ask that if there's any issue regarding expanded contact, that we reset this case so that we could call her therapist. I would like for Deborah Smith to have some input in that. There are a number of things that I've seen and heard that concern me, and I do think, you know, we're always working towards reunification, but we need that family therapy piece in order to get there. It concerns me when we're talking about just having Mr. Ben leave the home. Clearly, the parents are together. If we reunify, then we're missing that whole communication therapeutic piece that I think is necessary. Now, the kids very much want to see their mom and spend time with her, and I've got no objection to those kind of visits, but it doesn't seem realistic to talk about Mr. Ben moving out just for the period of this case so the kids can move in, so that then when the case is closed, he just moves back in and there's not that addressing of the initial problem with the therapeutic. So I would object to reunification at this time, but I don't object to more contact with mom. And I hope that we can get therapeutic started so that we can work through some of those issues.
Okay, and Casa?
Thank you, Your Honor. Kids are doing well. Courtney, thank you for clarifying that the kids aren't having contact with the dad. They're doing good. I have no concerns with their current placement. I would have to agree with Stacy as far as I don't have anything against with them getting more visits with mom, but I would have to agree therapeutic visits to start if they're all gonna have eventually visits with both mom and dad.
All right, so if we set another hearing to hear from child's therapist and get this bond thing, you know, try to get the real skinny on that. 2-3 weeks, give everybody enough time. Or do we need to do it after Thanksgiving?
Probably after Thanksgiving, Your Honor. I don't know what the therapist schedule is going to be and availability. I'll try to get in touch with the prosecutor and as quick as I can on this.
And the problem is that first week of after Thanksgiving, we were in a jury. Some of us were in a jury trial. So
yes, ma'am.
Let me look at the calendar real quick. Miss Katie, could we set something for the afternoon of December 4th? Obviously subject to our jury trial. But
Sure.
okay. Let's set it for the council, can you all do that the afternoon of the 4th?
I should be
Yeah,
able
Judge.
to. I have no idea of Miss Smith's schedule, but I'll reach out to her as soon as we're finished here today. Deborah Smith.
I'm available on that date, Judge.
Okay. We'll try to find out about the therapist, and so it could be set, you know, we might be setting at 1, we might be setting at 2, 3, or 4. You know, we'll see what we can figure out. And we'll try to get that, you know, we'll try to get it pinned down for everybody as quickly as we can.
And Judge, I know we have on the 4th, I know there's, I think 3, maybe 4 finals set that day.
We have a lot.
I'm hoping those will be, we're mediating some of those soon, so hopefully we'll get somewhere on those and they will.
Yeah.
But that day could run long, is all I'm saying.
It may be that if we can reach this, it'll be later, you know, in the afternoon even, but
Yes.
yeah, I just, you know, we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing stuff. So let's at least see if we can't. We'll shoot for that day.
Yes,
Leave it
ma'am.
that way. Okay. All right, then. So for today, I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I'm going to continue children's placement. I find there would be a continuing danger to return the children home at this time. I'm not going to order any change in the visitation until this bond condition stuff is clarified. So we'll regroup on December 4th that afternoon, see what answers we have and get the input from the therapist on this. Unless everybody's agreeable to therapeutic contact. So, that hearing might be avoided if we get the bond stuff figured out and if everybody's agreeable to therapeutic. If the bond language is incorrect, we may be shifting gears and talking about him having supervised contact with Davina. And that's almost what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
That is just simply an error in that order. That may change things to the point that we don't need a hearing. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
So, let's just get that clarified and figure out where we are at that point.
And Judge, just to clarify, I know Ms. Rowland had some questions on the visitation stuff. I know at the beginning of this case, this court had ordered only, I believe, supervised with Davina and Dad. Was the only child he could have visits with. The bond and everything didn't come in until July, and of course, this case was initially filed in May. So that's probably where some of the confusion came in on when visits were happening and stuff, but the bond conditions came later into our case. So that hopefully will clear up some of that confusion, but I'll get in touch with the prosecutor once we get off today and see where we stand on this.
Okay. Okay, I know that's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, but it's kind of hard to know,
Yes, ma'am.
till we make sure that we got the right kiddo named. So, okay.
Judge,
All
I
right, so
question. I'm so sorry.
No,
I got
go ahead.
I got an order that Richard Turner had been appointed an attorney.
Miss Katie, I don't have it on my current stuff, but
No, Judge, it came in just a couple days ago. So haven't worked it yet.
okay. He submitted it. We were out for a judicial conference all last week, so I'm sure I will be seeing it very soon.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't misread.
Okay. So that's where that stands. So I will take a look at it right away.
Thank you, Judge.
And
Okay.
Your Honor, if I could inquire on if we could potentially get mother's visitation increased to 3 to 4 hours a week until we have this hearing in December. I believe there was really no objection to increasing her visitation.
I don't know that there's any objection. I'm wondering, I mean, if it's even feasible. And here's why I'm hesitating, Mr. Naranjo, is when we get this whole mess resolved, if we're adding in the component of therapeutic visit, if that's going to also wrap mom in, then we've got some more time committed there. And so, with the kids with school and, all of that, I mean, we've just, it just gets hard to get it all worked in. Ms. Brown, I mean, is it realistic we could go that many hours?
We could increase to 3. That's feasible.
Okay. I was thinking she said it was at 3. We're not at 3 now.
It's got 2 hours every week.
Okay. All right.
3.
All right. If we think we can do 3 without screwing up the kids' schedules and all that, then I'm okay with that.
Okay.
that help, Mr. Ronholm?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Okay, I'll see everybody back December 4th, maybe. And otherwise, our next hearing is March 3rd, 2026 at 9 o'clock or 9 o'clock docket.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you all so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Judge
Mr. Brown,
Again, thank you all so much for your patience. And I'm very sorry to keep everybody waiting. I hate doing that. You all know I hate that. And I'm sorry that it's just been a train wreck this morning.
Hey, Judge, while you're waiting on this, can you put myself, Mr. Walker, and Mr. Hill in a waiting room?
Yeah. Are y'all gonna be very long? Because I'm getting
No.
ready to start, but
No, I'll be very quick.
okay, just a minute. You can go back to one. All right, you wanted
Mr.
Mr.
Hill and
Hill?
Mr. Walker.
And Ms. Zavala, did you tell me that he might be logged in under Alondra Harris?
Yes.
All right, I've got two devices here. So I'll bring them both in and we'll see. Okay, we're trying to get the child logged back in. Want to make sure I'll have good audio with him. Okay, Ms. Harris, you want to try again? Still not hearing you. I show you're connected to audio, so I don't know if you just have got a microphone muted or turned off or. Let me ask you this. Did Riley wish to tell us anything today, or was he just wanting to listen in? And if he wants to just listen in, if you'll just hold up one finger, if he was wanting to talk, hold up two. Okay.
That's what I
So-
believed.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead, since you all can hear us. I'll double check with you again. If at any point in time he does want to chime in and say something to us, that y'all start holding up two fingers, okay? And we'll see what we can figure out. Okay. All right, then at this time, I will call cause number. We're here today set for a review hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom. We're currently live streaming. Ms. Galvan is making our record. All right, one of the children isn't with us, so I'm anticipating a motion to go off of YouTube. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, any objection to that, counsel?
There you are. No.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the live stream, close the
For our
courtroom to
adversary
protect the child's.
hearing, we are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming and Ms. Taylor is making our record this morning. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present ready, Your Honor.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Brian.
Judge, you're muted.
Sorry, the judge, Miss Finto, the mother, Christina Finto, is not present in my waiting room. We show that she was personally served on May 20th of 2025. The father, Brian Irvin, likewise is not in the waiting room. He was also served on May 20th of 2025. Have we had any contact with them, and have they been given the link for the hearing today?
Yes, ma'am. I spoke to my investigator. He did. He has been in contact with them, texting back and forth, has met with them a couple of times in person, has given them the paperwork. Jared, would you tell me Mom said when you met with her?
I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and let's just go ahead and swear him in and just do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Take it on the record that way. All right. Okay. You call Mr. Arellano first? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Stretch, you can proceed.
And Your Honor, once we get into kind of this testimony, there'll be some fairly significant information about the baby's health. So I would ask to go off of YouTube.
Okay, is that something we can do at that point in time, or are we gonna get into it right away?
Either way, we probably won't get into it right away, Your Honor, but it will be a kind of a significant portion once we get there.
All right, and Ms. Zavala, any objection to that?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, just before you launch into that, just let's just stop and then I'll stop the feed at that time.
Yes, ma'am. And how are you familiar with that case?
I am the investigator on the case.
How did the department become involved in this case?
The department became initially involved for mother using methamphetamines and marijuana during her pregnancy.
And was this was a newborn baby?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were you able to meet with the parents?
I was able to meet with parents.
Okay. When was that? When was your first contact with the parents?
Let me interrupt you real quickly. I've had a Victoria Rodriguez come in the waiting room related to this case.
I don't.
She's on the next hearing at
Okay.
11:30.
All right, thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Okay, Mr. Arellano, you can go ahead and answer on
Yes, ma'am. I initially made contact with mother on May 9th.
Okay. And where was that contact made?
It was at Northwest.
Okay. And did you discuss with the mother why you were there?
I did.
Okay. And how did that conversation go? What was the conversation like?
We had the discussion about substance use. She did admit to me that she did use both methamphetamines and marijuana while she was pregnant. We also had a conversation about her mental health, as there was concerns about her mental health as well. I guess Northwest, the pavilion, had gone up to see Miss Finto, offered her some kind of in-service inpatient services, and she denied it, saying that she could treat herself. So as far as that conversation goes, she was well. Whenever I met with Miss Finto, Brian Jr. was in the room, sleeping in the bassinet next to Mom. So that's how I observed Miss Finto and Brian Jr.
Okay. Did Mom state whether she'd ever been diagnosed with anything mental health, or was this the first time?
She did tell me that she was diagnosed with, sorry, let me see. Depression and ADHD.
Okay. But she stated that she takes care of that herself and does not.
Correct. She's not actively seeking treatment, is what she told me.
Okay. Did you ask, were you able to meet with Dad at that time?
Not face to face. I had a phone conversation with Mr. Irving, or Mr. Irving.
And was that at this initial contact, or is that at a different contact?
It was the same day, but later.
Okay. You said you had discussed Mom's drug use with her?
Correct.
Did you discuss Mom's history with the department?
I did.
Okay. And what does Mom have history with the department?
She does.
Okay. What is that?
So last year, baby was removed from Mom for the same situation. Mom was actively using methamphetamines and marijuana. There was also concerns of mental health in this case as well, kind of the same situation here. And then in that case specifically last year, a couple weeks after services were offered, she decided to relinquish her rights to the baby.
Yeah. Does she have any other history besides that case?
She actually does have exact same situation in Oklahoma in the year of 2023. Same thing. Baby mom was doing methamphetamines, marijuana, concerns of mental illness while pregnant.
Okay.
Same situation there. They tried offering services, and baby was eventually rights were relinquished.
Okay. In our current case, when Mom and baby were born, they were both negative. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. But when you conversations with Mom, she did admit to using while she was pregnant.
Correct.
Okay. Did she state that she had stopped at any time?
She said as soon as she found out she was pregnant with Brian, she did stop.
Okay. Did she say when that was or when her last use was?
I believe, let me go look. Yeah, she just told me that she stopped whenever she found out she was pregnant with a baby. And this was back in January, is whenever she told me she found out.
Okay. So within the last about halfway through the pregnancy.
Correct.
Okay. In her prior cases, did mom state that she had kind of began to work services and then relapsed and decided to relinquish?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have a history of mom with years worth of methamphetamine use and a history of relapsing,
Yes.
according to what mom has told you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did your conversation with dad go?
Dad was upset, just saying that the department was basically out to get him. He told me that his kids have been taken in the past. He actually mentioned to me that he was going to take Brian Jr. out of the hospital and they were going to go back to Oklahoma. So just very upset. Later on, I did try to call him the same day, and he mentioned to me that he's not even sure if he's the father of Brian Jr.
Okay. With that statement, did he ask for any type of paternity testing, or did he just make the statement that he's not sure?
Yeah, he just made the statement.
Okay. Did the parents make any statements to you during these conversations about, well, let me back up. Did you ask them if they'd be willing to go drug screen for us, both parents?
I did.
And were they willing to do that?
Initially, they told me yes. Ms. Pinto did ask me to step out of the room so they could have a conversation privately after initially agreeing to a drug screen. Stepped out, came back moments later, and then they did make a comment to me that they wanted to relinquish their rights. Obviously, relinquishment is whenever the department already has custody, so I had that conversation with them. The difference between a relinquishment and then a refusal to accept parental responsibility. And they both agree that that's something that they wanted to do, is put Brian up for adoption.
Okay. And did they mention, in any other conversations, did they mention again, relinquishing rights to you?
Yes, in a later conversation, just to clarify, I wanted to get clarification from both of them, and they did again tell me that that's what they wanted to do.
Okay. And at that point, you asked to file for a petition, correct?
Correct.
Since then, have you had contact with the parents since the removal?
I have. That last week, I think Thursday, my supervisor, Ms. Pate, she tried to get paperwork to them. I was out of the office. No response from parents. Earlier this week, I went and tried. I've called several times. Mom's not answering phone calls, but she'll text me. We had a conversation about like the need to do paperwork, and she just kind of stalled for a couple of days, and she would text me either really late at night, like 10 o'clock in the evening, or like at 5 o'clock in the morning, just wanting to reschedule. So a lot of back and forth. But yes, this week I was able to get in contact with mom, hand her the paperwork, let her know the severity of needing that paperwork back.
Okay. Have you given both parents copies of the attorney form?
I have. I give Miss Pinto forms for both her and Mr. Irving.
Okay. And you heard the court announce earlier that both parents were personally served a few days ago.
Yes,
You did send out the link for today.
I did.
Okay. Did you get any response from parents when you sent that?
I did. She actually told me that she'd be joining.
Okay. But as of yet, we haven't seen her appear.
Correct. I haven't got any messages or phone calls from her either.
Okay. Have you had any really contact with dad since the removal?
I have not since that phone conversation that day.
Okay. But he and mom live together?
To my understanding, yes.
Okay. And you've been able to meet face to face with mom a couple of times this week?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you asking, well, Your Honor, I'd ask to go off of YouTube at this time.
All right, that motion was made and there was no objection to it. And so we're going to get into areas that about the child's health and medical issues. So I'm going to go ahead and close the courtroom.
And I'll
So,
restart
Mr.
the
Rob,
live stream.
Doing it.
Who's your first witness today?
Victoria Rodriguez.
All right, Ms. Rodriguez, if you'll raise your right hand for me.
Okay, and how long have you been with the department?
For a year.
Okay, and what is your education and training?
I have completed trainings with the department and I did attend school.
Okay, when were you assigned?
March 14th.
Okay. What were the allegations that caused the department to become involved?
I got a report stating that Nisa had been arrested by a police department and was booked into Potter County. She had been speeding and they did the alcohol, under the influence of alcohol.
Okay. And were charges filed as a result?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are they can you tell the court what those charges are and if they're still pending?
So those charges are still pending. It was for driving while intoxicated and then a child passenger in the front seat.
Okay. And you investigated the allegation once you were assigned?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did you do to investigate?
So I did talk to grandmother, and grandmother did confirm that, Nisa had been arrested that night prior around 2:30 a.m. for drinking and having Jason in the front seat.
Okay. And then did you do further interviews? Did you meet with the mother?
Yes, I met with the mother and she was at Potter County Detention Center.
Okay, so she was in the jail when you were first assigned.
Yes, sir.
Okay, where were she and the children living at the time?
With grandmother.
Okay, and are they still living there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then are any of the fathers involved in the kids' lives, or is it just the mother and the maternal grandparent?
Mother and maternal grandparents.
Okay, and then were you able to meet with the mother at any point in your investigation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did you have an opportunity to discuss the allegations with her?
Yes.
Okay, and particularly, did you discuss her alcohol use with her?
Yes.
Okay, and she didn't dispute that she was charged with driving while intoxicated, did she?
No, sir.
Okay, and then what about the charge related to the child being in the front seat? Did she acknowledge that?
Yes.
Okay, and did you have a chance to discuss with her drinking habits?
She did say that she does drink, but she said it's not excessive.
Okay. And then did you have any reason to maybe question that statement?
Yeah, since she had been arrested for drinking and driving with the child in the vehicle.
Okay. And was there any other collateral information that also caused concerns around that?
Yes, we did speak to a friend of her, then she did confirm that she had been drinking that night.
Okay. Did you attempt to offer her any services?
Yes.
Okay. And was she initially agreeable?
Yes.
Okay. And did you have like a team meeting or anything where you attempted to formalize a safety plan?
Yes.
And when was that approximately?
Our team meeting took place on April 15th.
Okay. And at some point in time, did she change her mind about doing services?
Yes, on May 5th, I spoke to her. She changed her mind about services.
Okay. And what services were you requesting? And are you requesting it? Well, actually, strike that. Are you asking the same services today as you offered in the safety plan?
Yes.
Okay. And what services were you asking her, and are you asking her to participate in?
So we are asking that she participate in services that are for an OSAR assessment for
Okay.
her drinking,
Okay.
and that she do random alcohol testing as well.
Are you
Drug
asking that
testing.
let me just stop you. I'm sorry to cut you
Yes,
off. Are you asking for her to follow any recommendations from the assessment?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and continue, please.
And then we would like her to maintain a drug and alcohol-free lifestyle as well, and then allow for random drug and alcohol testing.
Okay.
And then,
Any additional services?
yes, parenting classes.
Okay, and what is the parenting class designed to address?
Just to make sure that she knows how to properly put her child into a car seat and that he's always in the back seat. And, you know, her oldest is 17 and some things have changed since then. And so we just want to make sure she's up to date on her parenting skills.
Okay. Okay, and then what else?
And then for Jace to be evaluated by the Early Childhood Intervention through Texas Panhandle Center.
Okay. Anything else?
And counseling as well.
What is the individual counseling?
To address anything related to domestic violence, substance abuse, and any additional issues.
Okay, and we've talked about the concerns around substance abuse. What is the concern for domestic violence? Because that obviously wasn't part of the initial allegation.
Yes, sir. Her grandmother did speak to me that they did have some concerns that Jace's biological father may have been abusive towards Nisa Martinez.
And have you talked with Nisa Martinez about those allegations?
She did deny that there was any domestic violence between her and Jace's father.
Okay. So are you looking for that to be addressed? It sounds like you're looking for that to be addressed in individual counseling to
Yes.
rule it out as an issue.
Yes, sir.
And also to provide to address counseling if it's determined that it is an issue. Would that be correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is there any other services you're requesting?
No, sir.
Okay. The petition mentioned rational behavior therapy. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And was that's a standalone service for outside of individual counseling, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I believe the only other thing I saw in your petition that you didn't mention was a domestic violence awareness class. Is that separate from the counseling?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what would that address?
That would address any domestic violence that's happened between her and Jace's father, just because it does put the child at risk
Okay.
of abuse.
Okay. And then does the family have any CPS history other than this case?
Yes, sir.
And if you just give a brief thumbnail sketch of what that entailed.
So there was concerns that Ms. Martinez and Jace's father, Mr. Carrasco, were engaging in domestic violence and drug use.
Okay. When was that?
That was August of 2024.
Okay. And what was the result of that? What did that open for an investigation?
Yes, sir. Mom never drug screened, so we were never able to get results on that.
Okay. And then what about the domestic violence allegation?
She denied it as well in that case.
Okay. So you weren't able to establish at that time?
No, sir.
Okay. In this case, given the fact that there is a pending charge alleging driving while intoxicated and having Jace in the front seat, did that constitute an act or failure to act such that Jace was either abused, neglected, or placed at substantial risk of abuse or neglect?
Yes, sir.
And how so?
So a child is always supposed to be placed in the back seat of a vehicle, depending on their age. Jace's age being under 1, he needs to be in a front, not a front, but in a rear-facing car seat, buckled in at all times properly.
Okay, and the allegations regarding alcohol abuse kind of speak for themselves, don't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and does her failure to address that issue place Jace and potentially her other children in continuing danger to their physical health and safety?
Yes, sir.
How so?
We don't want her to think it's okay to be drinking and driving with the children in the vehicle, because that can cause harm to them if something was to happen.
In the event of an accident. Okay, and Did you have an opportunity to interview or at least see the children during your investigation?
Yes, sir.
And how are they doing?
They are doing good. Eliana did talk that, mom does drink twisted tea at home with grandma present. Her oldest daughter, Ariel, did state that mom does drink in moderation.
Okay. And then, but otherwise they're doing okay. No school issues.
No school issues, sir.
Okay. Is it your testimony that services are necessary to ensure the physical safety, particularly of Jace, but also of the other children?
Yes, sir.
And are you asking the court to order that the services, then the mother participate in the services that you've recommended?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do the children remain at ongoing risk if the services are not ordered?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anything that you discovered in your investigation that we haven't talked about today that you think the court should know about in terms of the reason for asking for services?
There are concerns that Miss Martinez and Mr. Carrasco are still together.
Okay. And although the mother denies there's domestic violence, you have collaterals indicating that may not be the case, and that's the concern?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. And that's the reason for the class, the DV awareness class and the individual counseling. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Sapien.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Rodriguez, you just testified that the children remain at risk if these services are not worked. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many months has it been since your initial report?
It is 2 months.
Okay. And has my client worked any services in the last 2 months?
No, ma'am.
Have you gotten any reports that the children are in danger in the last 2 months?
We got the initial report that Jace was in the front seat while mom was drinking and driving.
Right. My question is, since that report, have you had any new reports?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And prior to that report about the drinking and driving concern was a domestic violence report that you weren't able to substantiate. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And prior to that, you've never received a report regarding my client, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you testified she has a 17-year-old child.
Yes.
So she's been a mom for 17 years and never a report with those 2 kids, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now with Mr. Graff, you were using the term charge, that my client has been charged with DWI and a charge regarding the child in the safety seat. Do you know if she's been indicted on any felonies? Well, let me rephrase it this way, Ms. Rodriguez. Is it correct that there's only probable cause regarding these actions that my client has not been indicted? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you agree? Well, what was the date of her arrest?
March 14th.
Do you agree, Ms. Rodriguez, that you do not know if Ms. Martinez was drunk that night or not? You have no idea, do you?
There are pending charges, ma'am.
Do you know?
She did state that she had drank, so.
Do you know if she was drunk?
No, ma'am.
And when someone drinks, does that automatically mean they are intoxicated?
Possibly.
You can drink without being intoxicated, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it your position that you cannot drink and be a good parent at the same time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you can have an alcoholic beverage and still be a good parent, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And a safe parent, correct?
No.
You cannot drink and be a safe parent.
Alcohol clouds your judgment.
Okay. If you drink one drink, you are no longer a safe parent. Is that your testimony?
Yes.
So any parent that's at a restaurant and is having an alcoholic beverage should be concerned that you, Ms. Rodriguez, are going to come bring them to court and try to get them to work services, correct?
If they choose to drive with their child in the vehicle.
That wasn't my question. My question was, can you be a good parent and still have an alcoholic beverage?
Yes.
And the law in Texas is you can't drive while you're intoxicated. You testified earlier that one drink does not always mean intoxication. The reality is you do not know if Miss Martinez was intoxicated on March 14th, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the child was in the front seat. Was he in a car seat?
Yes, ma'am.
Your testimony earlier was that a child needs to be in a rear-facing car seat. Was he in a rear-facing car seat?
Yes, ma'am.
And in fact, Miss Martinez told you why he was in the front seat, didn't she?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was her explanation for that?
That he was adjusting to his formula and and it caused him to spit up and possibly choke.
Okay. When you interviewed the children, they disclosed to you, well, they didn't disclose anything about mom having an alcohol problem, did they?
No, ma'am.
They didn't say they were scared to be at home.
No, ma'am.
They didn't say mom walks around drunk all the time.
No, ma'am.
They actually didn't ever even say mom's drunk, did they?
No, ma'am.
Did any one of the children indicate to you that they felt unsafe?
No, ma'am.
How did they look?
They appear to be free of marks and bruises, happy.
At any time in the last 2 months that you've been around the family, have you seen Jace's dad around Miss Martinez?
No, ma'am.
And this domestic violence concern that you've talked about, that was prior to the child's birth, correct?
On her previous case, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you said you've been with the department for a year, is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so whenever you work with people who do have addictions and struggle with alcohol addiction or drug addiction, what are some characteristics you typically see in those parents?
When you do talk to them, sometimes their words are slurred. They appear to be under the influence of something. They're jittery. It just depends on what's going on at that time.
Okay. What about employment? Do they typically have stable employment?
Not all the time.
Do they typically have stable housing?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you ever notice my client to be jittery or have slurred speech?
No, ma'am.
And were you able to verify her employment?
Yes.
Do you know how long she's been employed at her current job?
She has been there 10 plus years.
And she's lived with her grandma for about 2 years, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So would you agree with me that her housing and her employment are stable?
Yes.
And she has never shown signs to you of being under the influence of alcohol or narcotics?
No, ma'am.
Whenever you had your meeting to do the family plan, and Grandma changed her mind. And did she indicate to you that Miss Martinez did not have a drinking problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it fair to say that everyone around Miss Martinez that's close to her has indicated to you she does not have a drinking problem?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Ms. Zavala? Ms. Martinez? People in the background, I'm getting background noise.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. It's my grandfather. You tell him sorry.
You can either go where it'll be quiet or.
Apple, you have to be quiet. They can hear you. Your music and everything. Shh, turn it off. Turn your music off. They can hear you.
Miss Martinez, you're also able to mute your device if you needed to do
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that y'all were able to hear him. He's in the other room. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It just makes it hard for the court reporter to take down what's
Yes,
going
ma'am.
on.
I'm
with
sorry.
somebody else. But you can always, and you can mute if you.
Oh,
need
okay. I got you. Let me do that.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Rodriguez, in the documentation that was submitted, I was a little confused. Is the department, what is the department asking in terms of the older children?
We're not asking for anything on the older children.
Okay, when I was reading something, it made it sound like the department was asking that Miss Martinez have to be supervised with her older children at all times.
Yes. That is correct.
You are asking for that?
Yes.
Okay. And tomorrow's the last day of school. We're going into summer. Are you saying that the 17-year-old has to be supervised at all times?
Yes.
Why?
Because Nisa had been drinking with her son in the vehicle. She chose to drive home after drinking. And so we just don't want the other kids being at risk of that happening.
Okay, so we've got a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old, and then I understand the baby.
Yes.
But let's talk just about those two children for a little bit. If the court were to order services today, for example, are those two children allowed to stay home by themselves during the summer?
The 17-year-old is on the 12-year-old. It just depends on, her capabilities to.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. It just depends on the 12-year-old if she knows what to do during an emergency and things like that, given her age. But yes, a 17-year-old can stay by herself.
So is it the department's position that the 17-year-old can be home by herself?
Yes.
Is it the department's position that the 17-year-old can watch the 12-year-old?
Yes.
Okay.
But she can't be on the safety plan.
I'm sorry?
She just can't be on the safety plan.
What does that mean?
No one under the age of 21 can be a safety monitor on a safety plan.
So that's what I'm trying to figure out. What does this safety plan look like? Are you saying that mom can't be with any of the children without someone else over the age of 21 there?
Yes.
And are those resources available?
Yes.
And who would that be?
Her grandparents and then her mother.
Do they all live in the home?
Grandma and grandpa do live in the home, and her mom was outside of the home.
And both the 17-year-old and the 12-year-old, they're verbal?
Yes.
Any kind of disability or anything that would make it difficult for either of those children to communicate?
No.
And they weren't involved in the incident?
No.
is part of the safety plan a requirement that the baby's father cannot be around?
No.
Okay, so he is allowed around his child?
So mom had said that he wasn't seeing Jace, so that's why he was not part of the safety plan.
Okay, so if the department were to come to the home and dad is there visiting with the child, what's the department's position?
Well, he didn't want to interview. I would like to get him to interview, and then I would require him the drug test, and we would put a safety plan in place that he has to be supervised as well.
Okay, but this all stemmed from mom's actions driving a car, and dad was not there, right?
No.
And have there been any charges for domestic violence?
My understanding, there is a criminal charge for Jace's father.
That's pending now?
Yes.
Are there any bond restrictions? Is he incarcerated? Is he out on bond?
He is out. Father wouldn't disclose any more information, wouldn't disclose any of that information to me. Who his bond is or anything like that.
Did either of the two older children indicate issues with Jace's father?
No. So they say they only see their father. They only see their father.
I pass witness.
Okay. I want to talk to the attorneys real quick. I want to have a bench conference with them. So let's set this up. Okay. I think we've got everybody back. So, all right. I had a concern. I think Mr. Groff's going to address that with his worker. But I think council and I have a consensus about my concern. So.
Yes, Your Honor, and I don't know that I need to, as I indicated in the breakout room, I don't think we need to go into a breakout room with my client. I'll concede for the record that the court does not have the authority in an OTP case to order 24/7 supervision. And I will just note in my discussions with my client, I think the primary concern is the service request. And unless my client has an objection to that, I'm fine. Essentially stipulating to that for the record, we're not asking for the 24/7 supervision. My social worker who testified obviously may have felt bound by policy issues, but now that we're in the court arena, that's not really on the table.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, so anybody have any further questions for this witness?
No, Your Honor. I had some brief cross-examination questions, but I think we kind of covered that, so I'll forego that. I have no other witnesses. We'll rest at this time.
Okay, let me just make sure. Ms. Zavala, did you have any, I mean, I kind of interrupted you. Did you have some other questions for her?
No, Your Honor, I think I am finished.
Okay. All right, very good. Okay.
Judge, I have just a couple questions.
Okay, of this witness?
Yes.
Okay, great. No, that's good. We'll take it out before, so I'll hold off on saying the department rest just yet. So
okay.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, and I will reserve after Ms. Sapien. I might have a couple of follow-ups.
Sure.
Thank you.
No. The door's still open. Okay.
Thanks.
Ms. Rodriguez, I have a couple questions for you. You are muted. Okay, there you go. You reviewed the police report for the arrest of Miss Martinez.
Yes, let me. So it said that she was originally arrested for being pulled over for speeding.
Okay,
And
she was, and that's my question is, what she was initially pulled over for.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's all I needed to know, Judge. I'll pass the witness.
All right, anybody else have any further questions for Ms. Rodriguez?
No, Your Honor, and the state rests at this time.
Ms. Zavala, anything else? For Ms. Rodriguez?
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, Ms. Sapien? Any witnesses to call today?
Yes, Judge, I'll call my client, Ms. Martinez.
All right, okay. Ms. Sapien, has she been admonished?
No, by me, Judge, but would you mind doing it on the record?
All right. Ms. Martinez, I'm just want to instruct you to make sure you understand that you do have certain rights under the Constitution of the United States and the Texas Constitution. It's called a privilege against self-incrimination. It sounds like you've discussed that with your attorney. I'm not going to ask you what you've talked to your attorney about, but do you understand that any questions that might relate to this pending charge that you have the right to invoke your Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and not answer that question?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So if there's a question that you feel like you need to invoke that right, you need to tell me that you wish to invoke your Fifth Amendment right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, then, Ms. Sapien, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, Ms. Martinez, do you agree that you were arrested on March 14th for the incident we've been discussing here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is it still correct that you have not been indicted on any charges?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you've only been arrested, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I want to know about you, Miss Martinez. Where are you currently employed?
Amarillo Pediatric Dental Office.
And how long have you been there?
This year will be my 11th year.
And what do you do for that office?
I'm a dental assistant. I clean kids' teeth and I help the doctors fix them and take x-rays and just work in the vet clinic.
Okay. And to do that position, what is your educational background?
I've had 18 months of college and a certification.
And that's like a dental assistant certification?
Yes.
Okay. And you have 3 children?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's their age range?
17, 12, and Jace is now 3 months.
Do you agree with Ms. Rodriguez's testimony that prior to Jace, you did not have any CPS reports with your oldest 2 children?
No, ma'am, I have not.
And you are currently living with your grandmother?
Yes, both my grandma and my grandpa.
Okay. And how long have you been there?
A few years now.
Now, the department had previously asked you to work services, and you had a family team meeting, and then you changed your mind. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you change your mind?
We just thought that what they were asking for it was just kind of over the top. We weren't really understanding why they wanted me to do all this supervision and all these drinking classes and stuff when, for one, I wasn't drunk driving, and I don't see a reason why I should be supervised around my children if I'm not. I don't think I'm a danger to them, and my family doesn't think I'm a danger to them either.
Okay. And did you hear Mr. Graff's announcement to the court that they are no longer seeking for you to be supervised with the children?
Yes, ma'am, I did just hear him that.
Okay. So we're only talking about the services. Do you have any issues at this time with domestic violence?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay. And Jace's dad is who?
His name is Julian.
Okay. And when is the last time you have seen Julian?
It's probably been around last year. Probably around Thanksgiving time.
Okay, so November of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
And there was some testimony that you may still be seeing him. Are you in a relationship with Julian?
No, ma'am.
And does Julian see Jace?
No, ma'am, he doesn't.
Okay. In your opinion, are there any concerns in your life with domestic violence?
No, ma'am, I don't. I don't feel like I'm a danger or my kids are in danger, so I don't have any domestic violence issues at all here at our house.
Okay. If the court does order you to complete services, are you asking that any services related to domestic violence not be ordered?
Yes, ma'am.
And talk to me a little bit about, there was testimony from Ms. Rodriguez that you had a concern about Jace choking. Is that correct?
Yes.
And why did you have that concern?
He was born and he had really bad acid. So while we were in the hospital, they were checking to make sure he was able to take formula down, which the normal formula he was not able to. He would throw up just really horribly, where he would choke on his milk in his throw up. So they had changed his formula, and he was still kind of getting used to that. The month that we had been at home, he was still kind of spitting up. And so when I took him to his pediatrician, they were also concerned that he may have like an acid reflux issue. So they were wanting me to just keep a better eye on him after he's done eating, and to like burp him extra, so that he didn't have that bad throw up acid after he was done eating and burping him.
Okay. And the car seat was in the front seat?
Yes, it was rear faced. He was buckled in, and he was also buckled into the actual seatbelt that comes with the front seat, but he was in the front seat.
Okay, that was going to be my question, is if he was rear facing and he was buckled in.
Yes, ma'am. He was buckled in his car seat correctly, and he was also buckled into the front seat correctly as well, and he was rear faced. He was just in the front seat.
Okay. And you were, and I'm not saying it was accurate or it was accurate or it wasn't accurate, but you were pulled over for speeding. Is that your understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was there any indication to you that you were driving erratically?
No, I know I was going a little bit fast coming around the curve. I wasn't going super fast. I think he had put me at going almost 8 or 9 miles over the speed limit.
And Ms. Martinez, before this incident, had you ever been arrested before?
No, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Groff.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Martinez, I just have a couple of questions. You said you were pulled over for speeding.
Yes.
You were ultimately arrested, however, correct?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
And is it your understanding that you failed the field sobriety test? Whether you agree with that or not, is it your understanding that that's what occurred?
Yes.
Okay. And you did admit to having had one drink that evening, I understand. Is that right? And then it was also reported you had several warrants regarding your dog
Yes, sir.
that also led to the arrest. What was that all about?
That summer before, I had a German Shepherd that would jump my fence. So a lot of my neighbors had complained, but I think it was the mailman that had originally made the complaint. So that's where the tickets came from at that time. And I didn't get anything in the mail indicating that I had those tickets or the warrant. So whenever they had came up in court, I really didn't know that that's what I had. I was kind of, me and my grandparents were a little confused on that, but we did take care of it, and I did get those dismissed.
Okay. Your grandmother reported to my client that she was worried you were seeing Mr. Carrasco and that there were some concerns around domestic violence. And I know you say that you're not seeing him and that there was no domestic violence. You have any idea why your grandmother would have expressed those concerns?
Just what had happened the previous year. That's why she was concerned.
What had happened the previous year? There had been domestic violence between you?
We were arguing and he had put his hands on me while I was pregnant with Jace.
Okay.
And that led to us no longer being together. And she was just concerned and worried about that.
Okay. Okay. And you understand having your child even in a car seat in the front seat is a safety threat, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if I understand your testimony correctly, you're saying that you felt because of the reflux issue, that was a bigger threat, and that was the reason why you had him in the front seat with you?
Yes, sir. I was just not able to see or hear him choke if I had him behind me, rear facing. So on my way home that night, I did feed him and burp him, and I put him in the chair, and I just wanted to have him close next to me so that I could keep an eye on him while I was driving home.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Nothing further. Pass the witness.
Ms. Voss.
Ms. Martinez, you talked about a doctor talking to you about burping him and feeding him. Did a doctor or anyone else ever tell you, hey, you need to put him in the front seat?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Does your car have an airbag?
Yes, it does.
I pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Sapien?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Sapien, you have any additional witnesses?
No additional witnesses, Your Honor. I'll rest.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala, any witnesses to call today?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to the court?
I do, Your Honor. I am very concerned about Jace and the situation he was placed in. It may, in fact, be a one-time situation. But in my previous life, I did airbag litigation, and there are some pictures and stories that I'm never going to be able to get over. That was a dangerous situation for him to be in, incredibly dangerous. I do believe that in terms of the domestic violence, that doesn't seem to be why we're here. I mean, we are here because of this one incident, and I feel like some of the domestic violence classes may be an overreach. Now, if in terms of, in going through alcohol-based services, if it somehow is determined by a counselor that the domestic violence is the reason why this happened, that might be one thing. But I do feel like some of those services are a bit of an overreach. I was concerned when I thought that the department was requesting 24/7 supervision. I don't believe that's appropriate at this time. I do believe it would be appropriate for Ms. Martinez to do some parenting, some alcohol, some things like that in terms of placing Jason to this position. But I do think that those could be limited to the situation at hand.
All right, thank you. All right, y'all give me just a couple minutes. Okay, at this time, then I find that the child was at substantial risk for abuse and neglect, and that this places the child at risk for some potentially for further abuse or neglect based on mom's decision to drive while under the influence, and to put the child, but probably more importantly, to place the child in the front seat of the car where there was a potential, of an airbag deploying with a baby. I'm going to order services very tailored. Ms. Martinez, my hope is that just this entire experience is going to leave a bad enough taste in your mouth that you won't ever do this again.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to order some random alcohol testing. I'm going to order that you abstain from using any alcohol. And I'm going to order you to do 6 sessions of some individual counseling that are focused on potentially any alcohol abuse problem that there may be or that you're developing, and more importantly, the risks that you are putting a child at by engaging in any similar behavior, or the decision making that you made that night. It's probably really more geared towards the choices and the decisions that you made that night. You're going to have your own fair share of trouble with the law. Outside of this case.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know for sure exactly if you were charged with a child endangerment charge or if it was just driving under the influence. But one or both could be coming your direction. And, quite frankly, you're going to have a lot to contend with if you draw a child endangerment charge. So really, we're the least of your concerns right now, quite frankly.
Yes, ma'am.
But we are also in more of a position to try to offer you some help, and some guidance, and to try to help give you some knowledge moving forward that you're not going to get through the criminal justice process. Okay. So, our involvement with you, I think, is going to be limited. It's probably going to be very short, as long as you, buckle down and get that counseling going. So the alcohol testing, the abstinence from alcohol, all of that, my order is just tied to when you complete your counseling. And then we're going to get out of your life.
Okay.
So, couple months probably, we're in your life to get that counseling done. But I want the department to make sure the counselor understands the focus of this is there anything going on in her life that she needs to talk about, or that maybe is clouding judgment or decision making, and the risks that the child was at that night. So,
Okay.
I too, I'm not concerned about any ongoing domestic violence. So I don't want to get into all that. So I want to just focus it very narrowly on what I think is the concern here. So, okay, I'll sign an OTP that has those services listed, and then we will just have a quick kind of check-in. It'll be scheduled for August 12th. It's entirely possible you may never see me again. You may be done with this and they'll submit an order to dismiss before I ever even reach that first compliance hearing.
Okay.
But if we need it, it's on the books for August 12th. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. So, I wish you success with this. I wish you luck with the criminal side of it, but I have nothing else to do with that other than just to tell you that, we're going to be the smallest burr under your saddle, probably.
Okay.
So, okay. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And, I will, be back at 1 o'clock for, the next thing on our docket. Today on a compliance hearing, and we are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud. So if you need a copy, let me know. We'll make it available. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Morning, Your Honor. Counsel Gene Graff and Lily Ariza on behalf of the department. Present, ready to proceed.
Good morning, Bailey Sapien on behalf of respondent mother. My client is present and we're ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the children.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's see. Ms. Arazia, I guess you're going to give us the update, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. So this case with Nisa, I will say she's been doing very well for the past couple months. Starting off with her counseling, she has completed, I believe now 3. I did see her on Friday, and she was going to do her 3rd session as of yesterday. She's been doing very well. I'm still waiting on her psychosocial from her counselor. She's also doing the Padre program, and she is, as of Friday, she completed her 3rd class. It is an 8-week program, and she will be doing her 4th this week, possibly even her 5th. Her graduation date is actually determined to be August 26th. So she's been very compliant and cooperative with that. She also did Bennett Court Solutions. I know we weren't involved for domestic violence, but we had a bit of history there or concerns with that. And so she did complete 2 online courses, and she did successfully complete those, and she provided her certificate of completion. And then as far as drug testing, she has been very compliant with that as well. She goes when I ask her to. Of course, her schedule sometimes gets busy, but I do give her at least that 24-hour window, and she does go. So she's been, I haven't had any issues with her results as of yet. And then other than that, her child, Jace, he was referred to ECI early on. He completed his evaluation, and there were no concerns with that. As far as her other 2 daughters, Ileana and Ariel, there were no concerns, so we did not refer them to any services, and they've been doing very well.
Okay, great. Everybody, at least the older ones, are ready to start back to school then.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. All right, Ms. Sapien?
Nisa, did you have anything that you needed to ask today, or are you doing all right?
I'm doing great. Thank you. No, ma'am, I didn't have any questions.
Okay, great. I don't have anything, Judge.
Okay, great. All right, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, I got to meet with all the kids and mom in the home. The older girls seem very comfortable. They seem very ready for school. I think anytime you can get a 13-year-old up super early for athletics and they're not grumpy about it is pretty amazing. They really seemed great. The baby seemed great, adorable, looked healthy, seems to be meeting milestones. I had no concerns after meeting with any of the kids.
All right, great. Okay, then, Ms. Martinez, it sounds like we are really headed in the right direction, and I really appreciate your cooperation, and you're working so hard on all these things so that, the hope is you never find yourself back in this situation.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have any questions today or any concerns?
No, ma'am. No questions and no concerns. We've been doing really good.
Okay, sounds like it. Sounds like it. Everybody ready for school, and have you got what you need?
Yes, ma'am, we are. We got backpacks and supplies and got the girls' schedules, and they're ready, and we're just waiting for Thursday to come and go.
Okay. All right then. Well, for today, what I'm going to do is just continue the service plans that you have, and we're scheduled to get together again November 4th this year on a 9:00 docket. Now, everything's going so well. I have a very distinct feeling that they will probably be dismissing out of this case before I see you again in November.
Yes, ma'am.
And I hope that's the case. We will keep that on the calendar just in case, we have some hiccup or we've got a problem or there's something else you need help with, and we're still involved. But I have a good feeling that probably you will be long done by then. So,
okay.
Continued best of luck and success to you. And, I hope that you don't have to come back and see me in November. That'd be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you all very much. And you're free to go. We've got some other things on our docket, but unless you've got something you need to hang around with me, then everybody's free to go.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Judge, I'm going to sign off.
We are conducting this through Zoom. We are also live streaming, or I'm sorry, yeah, we are live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record today. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present and ready.
Jay Michelson on behalf of the mother, Rena Estrada. We're present and ready.
Gary Morales on behalf of respondent Father Jesus Mejia, Macias, he is present. We are ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Mateo.
All right, thank you. All right, my understanding is that the parents have been able to reach an agreement with the department, and Ms. Zavala is in agreement with that. We'll get to the meat of that agreement, but I mean, normally with the facts of this case, I probably would be very uncomfortable with this being on YouTube. But if we're just going to announce an agreement and we don't need to get into any of those specifics, then I'll leave the courtroom open and leave the live feed going.
Yes, ma'am. I don't suspect asking any questions getting into that.
All right. Okay. All right, then, Mr.
Before we get going real quick, Dr. Potter is still in here. He was one of my witnesses. Since we're announcing an agreement, I won't be needing his testimony today if we could release him.
Counsel, any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, Dr. Potter, thank you so very much for logging in with us and for being here. We really appreciate it, and you're free to go, sir.
Thank you much. Have a good weekend.
Have a good rest of your day.
And Judge, I know Dr. Matamal was in here. I think he's already gone. Is that, I'm not seeing.
He is, because I was looking for him earlier to see if they had gotten word yet or if we were going to need to release him. So okay. All right then. Mr. Trout, are you going to announce the agreement?
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, parties have agreed to the department keeping temporary managing conservatorship of the child at this time. We're not asking for any medical support or child support at this time. We are asking parents to work services. We've agreed to visitations being virtual at this time, at least until the status hearing, and then we'll reevaluate at that point. And then, as we discussed, Mr. Morales' client asked for shorter visits, more times a week, instead of one long visit a week. We can accommodate that. I know after talking to my clients, St. Francis does like to supervise at least the first few of those. So they will work with placement, try to get visits about every other day if we can, for 20 to 30 minutes or so, multiple times a week.
All right, and the child is placed with families, with maternal grandparents?
Correct, John.
Okay, which always makes things easier. Okay. All right, so Mr. Morales, with respect to that request, I think, I am fine with that. I think every other day would be great. I do want to give placement the ability to try to work something out differently with the parents if there's going to be a conflict on any given day. So, they might end up having 2 days in a row and then skipping a couple of days. But I think it's only fair that St. Francis have the opportunity to just talk with grandparents about this and see if we can't come up with, a time of day that works for parents and around the baby schedule.
Perfect. Great.
So obviously with the child this age, the more frequent contact is probably more important than the duration of the visit. So, to parents, I know that may seem like a very short window of time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, but it's really more about frequency than it is duration.
And I completely agree, Judge. We appreciate that. I did, I think Michelson had asked about, or somebody had asked about my client being in school. He does have evening classes on Monday and Wednesdays. So before the department does talk to them, if they can accommodate, I think the best days for him are Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturday, and Sunday. So basically avoid Monday and Wednesday because he works until 4:30 and then goes to school at 5:30. So basically just Monday and Wednesday avoid.
Okay. So, I mean, if that works, where we could do it instead of truly every other day, just do it Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday,
Perfect.
if that'll work for everybody.
And we'll, I don't know my client's schedules as far as if they are supervising any of them at the beginning, on weekends, but, we'll work it. They'll get with the placement and with parents and we'll get some worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I would think if it's gonna be virtual, if they log in on those weekdays, I doubt they're gonna miss very much
Yes,
on a
ma'am.
Saturday or Sunday, but, I think we can work around that. So I don't want that to be an absolute bar to them having contact over the weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
So, we want logic to prevail here. But I do want to just condition it that we've got to work all that out with placement. So I feel like we will to the parents, but I want you to understand, that we do need to run that past them.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, so Tuesday, Thursday. All right.
And
Judge, may I speak real quick?
Sure.
Mother went and drug tested for us and completed that, but father has not.
Okay.
So we need him to go and do that.
Okay. Mr. Morales, you can discuss that with him, but I'll go ahead and order him to go drug screen. It's 1:35, but let's just say can he do it by noon tomorrow?
Judge, I know you too well. I told him, I said, it's at 1:30 tomorrow. I said, I don't know if she'll do 4 o'clock tomorrow. I said, but I would expect noon Friday. So that's he already knows.
Okay. All right. So that is an order, Mr. Macias, to go do that drug screen. Is that hair and UA?
Hair and UA, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah. By noon tomorrow.
Okay, Judge. Remember what I told you. By 12, you remember Care Express over there by the post office? Yes. Okay.
Okay, so this is just a great example of parents, listen to your attorneys. They may know what's going to happen before I say it. So, listen to what they're telling you. Okay, then Mr. Michelson, is this your client's agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and Mr. Morales, is this your all's agreement?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Zavala, do you believe this is in the best interest of the child?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, then I will approve the agreement, but find the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the child. I'm not going to order any child support or medical support to be paid at this time. And I do want Mr. Morales for you to discuss with Mr. Macias about adjudicating him. Maybe at the status hearing, I'll give you time to visit with him about those issues. And because I'm just showing that he's alleged. So if I'm wrong about that, somebody correct me right now, but I just have him as alleged.
That's how we have Your Honor.
Okay. So that we can get that resolved one way or the other and handled. Parents obviously will work some services for us. Visits will be virtual at this time, but we'll revisit that at the status hearing. So we're going to shoot for shorter but more frequent visits. We'll try to do those at the times that we've talked about. And then I'll see everybody back for our status hearing on July 1st of 2025. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. So and I want to address parents just briefly. These are very difficult cases. And I appreciate your cooperation working with us. I hope that you all will go into this with a mindset that, everybody here is really here to help you all. And, they're not the enemy, they're not the bad guy. You know, the goal is reunification with you. And we want to work with y'all, see that you're learning some things and learning some skills and you know, that moving forward, you know, you've maybe got better tools in your toolbox to deal with what are the inevitable ups and downs of being parents. So, you know, those are meant to be words of encouragement to you both. And, you know, just be sure you stay in contact with your attorneys. Be sure you stay in contact with the caseworker that's going to be assigned to you from moving forward, because that's going to be a different person. And, you know, this can all have a good outcome. It's not going to happen overnight. I'm going to just caution you all. These cases they're difficult and they often tend to move slowly. And you know, that's just because we have to move out of an abundance of caution and make sure that the child is safe and that the child will be in a safe environment. So, you know, when we've got a child this age that can't talk to us, can't report to us, can't, you know, give us, you know, his feelings or his thoughts, then, you know, the whole thing just takes longer. So I want you all to have a realistic expectation that, you know, he isn't going to be back home, you know, in the next couple of months. That's very unlikely. So I want you all to have a reasonable and a realistic expectation. We've got a lot of things to do and a lot of things to be sure of before we take those kind of steps. So work with us. We're going to work with you. And, you know, I wish you all the very best of luck moving forward. Okay, I'll see y'all back July 1.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, I am on this next hearing. I represent Mom.
We're here today set for an adversary hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming and Ms. Taylor is making our record. This is we're reconvening. This case was originally set for hearing on May 13th. And at that time, Mr. Wallace had appeared and he had not been appointed counsel and wanted to pursue that. And so we reset for today's date. So Mr. Wallace was appointed counsel in the interim. And so we're ready to go. Do we have any announcements we need to make? We'll take appearance announcements, but first, but anything else?
No, ma'am, Your Honor, we'll be announcing once everybody does do their announcements. We do have a request, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Sure. Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and take everybody's appearances.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present, ready, Your Honor.
Jerry Morales for respondent mother. She is present. We are ready.
I'm Tate Eldridge. I represent the father, Luke Wallace, and we're both present and ready.
Stacy Zavala for the children.
All right, thank you all very much. Okay, Mr. Trout.
Your Honor, after meeting with Mr. Eldridge, and I believe from my understanding, Mr. Morales and his client will be in agreement. Parties have reached an agreement for the department to have temporary management conservatorship of the boys, for parents to work services, not asking for any child support or medical support at this time. We do have the request, you know, we have a couple of fathers being alleged. Mr. Wallace and Mom were married at one point when the youngest was born. I believe at the last hearing, Mr. Wallace stated he did not believe he was that child's father. So we would ask for paternity testing on all three kids and Mr. Wallace, just to see where we stand on all the paternity there. I know there was an AG's case filed about a year or so ago. paternity testing was ordered in that case, but never completed. And then that case was non-suited. So the paternity has not been completely established on all the children. So we would ask for paternity testing to see where we stand there.
All right, so we're going to do paternity testing on all 3 children of Mr. Wallace.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And all right. And let me just ask, with respect to Mr. Pedraza and or Mr. Sanchez, both alleged fathers, do we have any more recent information or new information about their whereabouts or any more contact than what's been detailed in the affidavit in support of removal?
I don't believe we have found them. I can ask Miss Taylor in just a minute, Your Honor. I can put her on the stand and ask her on that, Your Honor.
I just was wondering if we could just take if there's something new, certainly I would like to have that testimony. If there's nothing new, I certainly would be willing to take judicial notice of the affidavit in support of removal with respect to the whereabouts, location, and contact with those 2 gentlemen.
Miss Taylor, have you got any new information or any contact?
No, I have not. We have attempted to locate both of them at some addresses and some phone numbers and have been unsuccessful.
Okay. So no, ma'am, nothing new, no locating information on them that we can verify, Your Honor.
Okay, and in fact, the affidavit referred that Mr. Sanchez may have been deported to Mexico.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. All right, then, counsel, is there any objection to my taking judicial notice of the content of the affidavit in support of removal with respect to Javier Pedroza and Pedro Sanchez, as far as the efforts that have been made to try to locate those 2?
No objections.
No
Okay.
objection.
All right, then I'll take judicial notice of the affidavit in support of removal solely with respect to those 2 gentlemen and their locations and inability to locate at this time. All right, and Mr. Trapp, is the agreement that there won't be any child support or medical support?
No child support, medical support at this time, Your Honor. We leave that open to address once we figure out paternity and where we stand on those situations.
Okay. And then have we got anything worked out as far as visitation?
Visitations, Your Honor, there's been some, I know my investigator has spoke to the boys, the older boys. There's been a couple of things going with them. My understanding at this time, they're not asking for visitation with Mr. Wallace. That is my understanding as of an email I received last night. They would be virtual at this time, as Mr. Wallace is not able to move about due to his situation at the time. Visits with mom, I think they are having visits with mom right now. Is my understanding. I think they have.
You said they've had one, yes.
Okay. So visitations with mom is being set up and going.
Okay. So, just Mr. Wallace, what I would just say about this is, these cases are fluid. I mean, the kids, I assume we're talking about Edward and Aaron.
Yes, ma'am.
So, at this time, if they aren't wanting visits or contact, usually what we want to do on that is let's just wade in. This situation can be fluid. We get the kids in with counselors, let them start working with counselors, therapists, and then we start talking about those issues, with a therapist and let them address those issues with the kids. And then, we just work our way towards that. Okay.
So Luke, you're muted. So she was talking to you. Did you get that?
Yes, I got that.
Okay.
Just making sure.
Yeah, we'll get them in and we'll kind of start working on all these issues. So, okay.
So Your Honor, I only have one request, and I'm not sure how to do this. Mr. Wallace isn't mobile right now. He can't walk. He just got out of a long stay in the hospital. And so he's willing to do services. He's worried that he can't get around to different places to do things. He's asking for as much of it to be as virtual as possible so he can do those until he's medically back on his feet again. That's the only request we had.
Okay. I have absolutely no problem with us trying to accommodate that to the extent that we can. So, if St. Francis will just be mindful that we need to try to do as many things online or virtually as we can. And is Mr. Wallace in state? I'm trying to remember.
Well, I think you're in Irving, aren't you, Mr. Wallace?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, that helps that you're in the state of Texas, because counselors have a problem. Say, for instance, if they're licensed in Texas and you were located in Arkansas, that sometimes presents a real problem for us. So, but you're in Texas, so that shouldn't be a big barrier. So we will try to get that all set up so that can happen virtually to accommodate you. And to the extent, I mean, I think everybody, the lawyers and everybody with St. Francis and the department probably know, to the extent if we can roll some of his services all in with a counselor or therapist, I'm willing for us to try to roll as many of those things to a counselor as we can, just because of his mobility issues and to make that easier. So, instead of separate parenting and separate RBT or separate this or that, to the extent that we can get a therapist to kind of do the one-stop shopping with Mr. Wallace, I'm good with that. And I think it makes sense.
This way.
Obviously, Mr. Eldridge, that may take longer than 6 sessions,
Right. Yes, ma'am. I understand.
when we're rolling all that together, but I would think that would be easier for him.
It would. Absolutely.
All right. Most of those sessions are at certain times, and he can plan around that, and so it's not like signing up and having to wait to get into one of those classes and all of that. So I think let's try to do everything we can that way with Mr. Wallace. All right. Anybody else have any questions or anything?
Judge,
I'm willing to do. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, ma'am. What? For Aaron Edward.
Okay, Mr. Wallace, you're kind of cutting in and out.
I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have Aaron Edward to be able to come home.
All right, sir. Well, we'll work with you as long as you work with us.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the idea. Okay.
And Judge, Miss Selena, on our end, Miss Salinas requested that with Erin's placement that she'd at least have virtual visitation, and also in the event that she's accepted, she's being very proactive and she is trying to get herself into a inpatient rehab program right now. And in the event that she can, she'd like virtual visitation with the other boys if in person cannot be accommodated at the facility, which I'm kind of assuming wouldn't. So,
Yeah, depends on the facility.
okay.
I think some of them have visitation after a certain, after they've been there for a certain time frame. Others probably don't. So, I don't have any problem with it as long as we can get, as long as a program would permit that.
And the last thing I was going to say is Miss Salinas is going to contact Miss Taylor, I think later this afternoon or tomorrow morning, with a potential alternative placement for Aaron since he's in Houston, to get him closer, one that's local, but she's going to get all of his information first. Just somebody to look into to try to get him local.
Okay. Yeah, or we're always all about that. So, yeah, let's
Judge.
get the information and we'll take a look at them and see what we can do.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Yeah, if, we can get a home study rolling on them or whatever we need to do. Who is the potential placement?
It's a fictive kin, and it's,
Should we just go by the name? I'm not sure. Steven, I think. I'm not too sure.
Steven, she knows his first name is Steven. But yeah, so she's gonna have to, I mean, it's gonna be a fictive kin situation. And of course, the home study would probably be necessary.
Yeah. Do the children know this individual?
Yeah, no.
He's just a friend of the family.
He's a friend of the family's, but the children aren't very familiar with him.
Okay. That may be a hurdle. I mean,
Okay, Judge.
let's just get some more, we'll get some more information about it and take a look.
Okay, Judge.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else they want to raise? Okay.
This time around.
All right then. So I kind of lost track here. Did I give you a formal ruling? I don't know. Let's just do it again. So I find the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the children. Not going to order any child support or medical support. We will do genetic testing on all three children and Mr. Wallace. I would make a finding that there's a continuing danger to return the children home at this time. The department will use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. And I'm taking judicial notice of the affidavit in support of removal as far as the efforts to locate the two alleged fathers, Mr. Pedroza and Mr. Sanchez, that they have not been able to be located or contacted at this point in time. So any visits with Mr. Wallace would have to be virtual at this time, but we need to get where the kids are wanting that. So we'll address that in therapy. We will attempt to do as many of Mr. Wallace's services through a therapist because of his mobility issues right now. And we will take a look at the potential placement mom is going to give us information about. And then I will see everybody back for our status hearing July 1st on a 9 o'clock docket.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Honor. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry and Tate.
Bye, guys.
Y'all have a good rest of your afternoon.
Thanks, Judge. Have a good weekend.
Amy, thank you. Keep us posted about your
New adoption.
your new adoption, so to speak.
Y'all might want to be around when I break that to my husband.
Yeah.
Video.
Hey, blame it on the grandchild.